That's it. Good morning, ladies. What happened? Good morning, everybody. Tizku Leshanim Rabot. Today, Monday, Shushan Purim, the 16th day of Mehillah, the 15th day of Adar, the 25th day of March. As we know, Shushan Purim was the extra day given to our brethren in the time of Purim to defeat the enemies of Shushan Habira. And therefore, the Megillah wrote yesterday that the second day is also carries the power of Purim. Maybe not for us outside of Israel, 100%, but it for sure carries something. Why? Today, we said Yehi Shem. We did not say the regular Tachanun. In Yerushalayim and certain cities around Yerushalayim, today is when they read the Megillah, today is when they do the Sa'udah, today is when they do the Mishloach Manot and Matanot La'evyonim. Not all of Israel, but only Yerushalayim and certain areas of Jerusalem. All this is considered Mukafot Homa, cities that are surrounded by walls. And the same way that Shushan celebrated this day, the Purim of Shushan was today, so Yerushalayim celebrates the same way. Our Hachamim tell us that even though yesterday was the day of our mitzvot outside of Israel, but let's say that someone did not give yesterday matanot le'evyonim, gifts to the needy, financial, or mishloach manot, the food baskets. You're allowed to do it today. Why? Because these mitzvot don't carry a beracha. There is no beracha. When you give the mishloach manot, there is no beracha. When it comes to matanot le'evyonim, there is no beracha. Let's say Shimon asked before, Rabbi, I did not have wine yesterday. So what did I answer her? You can have it today. Obviously, that was a joke. Okay, don't have. I know you don't drink. But this is a question that came from the men's department earlier today. He couldn't do the Sauda. He didn't give me a good reason. He said, do the Sauda today. What's the only difference? Don't say Ala Nisim in the middle of the Birkat Hamazon. You want to say Ala Nisim, you can say it afterwards. That's it. Sure, why? It's not a beracha. In the event that has Hashem's name, which I'm not sure if it does, I don't remember it by heart, but if it does not, easier. If it does, skip Hashem's name. No Hashem's name. Ve'ata, we say. Ve'ata, and you. Berachamecha harabim. So you can say Ala Nisim today. Again, not as part of the Amidah, nor inside the Birkat Hamazon, but you can do it afterwards. Not long. Yeah, after the Sauda, if you have to. Today, it's also the Hilulah, or the Yortzeit, of Rabbi Haim Kanievsky, alav shalom. Today, Shushan Purim. I don't think the great rabbi needs my introduction. Someone who influenced the Jewish people for many, many years. The rabbi had the merit to live close to 100 years. 94 to be exact. Passed away 2 years ago. And there are books written about him and all kinds of things that people came to the realization of what great of a person was he. A person who lived a very simple way of life. Like many of the Tzaddikim, they live simple way of life. But their reach and their greatness, it goes beyond a physical lifestyle of the rich and famous. Even though he could have had it, because people were willing to offer and to give. But for him, like you say in America, time is money. Even when he needed to say a beracha to someone, to give a beracha, he will say buha, beracha be'aslaha. Not to use the time to say beracha and aslaha. Another thing we learned the other day, he ate what his wife gave him. Never go to the kitchen. Never went to the kitchen. Never called up. I'm coming home for lunch. What's for lunch? Can you relate to that question? Okay. Pizza. Okay. I don't think he ever ate pizza in his life. A tzaddik of this level doesn't eat pizza. I'm telling you, he ate what his wife gave him. Guaranteed it was not pizza, because she was also a great lady. So I got this a very colorful pamphlet, which I'll share with you on the chat of this class if you are registered, and you can read it. But I think that today we're going to concentrate, and this booklet comes from this book. To the men's department, I gave them this version. I said to the ladies, I'll share this version. 8 rules for life. 8 rules for life. 8. Rabbi Haim Kanievsky. Alav Shalom. Besimcha. So I'll be honest with you. They are messages, and I'm not sure. I think the stapling was not done properly. But it's fine. I deal with it personally later. Just remove the staples and staple it appropriately. It makes a huge difference because got it. Okay. We'll do our best. We constantly deal with people. You are human, you deal with people, like it or not. Unless you live in a desert island and you don't have to deal with it. But the language, and again, each page can be 20, 30 pages in Hebrew. But I'm giving you the highlight. And the highlight says as follows. When dealing with other people, compromise on everything. In halakha, Jewish law, compromise on nothing. Let me clarify. Jewish law is Jewish law. Why it's Jewish law called Jewish law? Why it's called law? L-A-W. So we need to remember the following. In Hebrew, the usual word that we use for Jewish law is halakha. Halakha. What's the meaning of the word halakha? Don't tell me Jewish law, because halakha, it's only the understanding of Jewish law. Neither. Halakha means walking. Halakha comes from the word holech. How do you walk in life? With God or without God? That's simple. Now you say with God, right? You say you walk with God. Hopefully. Hopefully. But what is the parameter? Or let's go make it easier. What is the measuring tool to determine if I'm walking with God or I'm walking against God? Jewish law. Halakha. Halakha comes from the Torah. So it says, when it comes with people, let's say The husband wants meat. The wife wants dairy. It's a good question. Reminds me of the story of the Gemara. The wife will ask the husband, "What do you want for dinner tonight?" He'll say, "Rice and chicken." He came home at night. What did she make? Macaroni and cheese. The next day, "What do you want for dinner?" Okay, maybe fish. She will make rib steak. Whatever he asks, based on her question, I don't ask. Baruch Hashem. I learned from the great rabbis. But whatever he said based on her question, she did the opposite. One day, the husband left earlier than usual, and the wife sends the son, "Go to your father's business and ask him what he wants for dinner." So the father says, "Okay, make a mahshi, emjedra. The son that knows the mother and knows the father, what does he say to the mother? He wants to eat hot dogs and hamburgers tonight. Meat. He comes home. What does he see? Emjedra. That rice and lentils with yogurt and labne on top with na'na. But that's too much for you. Don't worry. Some of the wonderful ladies will give you the recipe. So he was shocked. He says, "I don't understand. Every day she does the opposite." So he suspected that his son did something. He went to his son and he says, "How come I'm eating dairy tonight? I was expecting to eat meat based on your mother's past performance." So the son says, "Dad, I know how it works with you and her every day. You say dark, she says white. You said night, she says day. You say white, she says black. So I figure, if you want to eat dairy, you're never going to eat dairy. But if I tell her that you want to eat meat, she's going to make dairy." So the rabbi said to this young man, "Even though your intentions are proper, whatever your wife's my wife," is the rabbi said, "whatever your mother makes me to eat, I'm happy with. Don't make a big deal out of food." Okay? But the compromising is not limited to food. I have couples, young couples, newly married. And newly married, in the beginning is very exciting, right? What part of it? Both of them have parents in town. So one Shabbat to one parent, another Shabbat, another parent. This has been going on for 6 months. They are newly married, not even a year old. And they came to me and they said, "Rabbi, we realize that we don't have time for ourselves. We don't have time for ourselves." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Very simple. Every Shabbat, we go either my parents or her parents. What do we do? How can we tell them we're not coming?" He says, "What's the problem? Give your mother a phone call. Tell your mom, 'Mom, this Shabbat, I'm going to stay with my husband at home.' Then your husband, another week or another second week, will tell his parents, 'Dad, I'm not coming this Shabbat. I'm going to be with my wife at home.' What's the problem? As long as that people communicate and they have an understanding and respect for one another, because we agree to disagree." That's an imperative message that the great rabbi gives in life. But when it comes to Jewish law, there is one way. Yes, I'll be the first one to say that there are parameters of Jewish law. You have the more strict opinion, the more lenient opinion, the middle of the road opinion. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Obviously, you should have one way. But as long as the way is within the parameters of Jewish law, we are in the right track. Then, second message, he says, the person should be like a low hook. You know the hook they put behind the doors? But it says, make sure to hang it low. Why? To become accessible to anyone. To become accessible to anyone. To come hang their problems and questions on. In other words, if I put a hook on top of the door, who is going to use it? No one. But if I put it right here, it's going to be accessible to anyone. It says sometimes what a person needs is not a solution, is a listening ear. 50%. You know who says this? Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech writes that if you have something that's troubling your heart, share it with someone, but not someone that is in the same hall, because not too many solutions will come from there. But speak to a third party, and just by the mere fact that a person is able to bring out their situation, their question, their problem, their challenge, that is already gives a breathing space to the person. Secret to a happy marriage. What is the secret to a happy marriage? Yeah, some people don't need secrets, but many people in the world, they need tips how to live a happy life. And I'm not talking about from the financial aspect of life. I'm talking about the emotional and happiness in life overall. He says something very interesting. Humility. Why? Why humility influences my marriage? Very simple answer. Because if I'm arrogant, I will have a difficulty in accepting somebody. My way or the highway. I'm right, you're wrong. But if a person has anava, right? Nachmanides, everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it one more time. Wrote in the letter to his son. What is the first message he gives his son? And the son didn't live in sunny isles. The Ramban lived in Israel, and his son lived in Spain, Catalonia. Sure. So imagine how long it took to send such a letter. It says rule number 1, speak to people in a pleasant way. Benahat. And this will calm your anger, which is the worst enemy of the person. And when anger is in control, humility will flourish. In other words, why people get upset? Give me a reason. Because something didn't go their way. And who says that your way is the right way? And who says that anything or everything in life needs to go your way? You're telling God that He's wrong? Not so easy what I'm saying. It's easier said than done, perhaps. We're very calm. South Florida weather. Monday, the day after Purim. We all relax. We're learning Torah together. It's very easy to think that way. But when we close the books and we meet the real world outside, this is when the nisyonot come. And it is true. How many times I've heard through my professional and personal life experience that by not being willing to accept somebody else's opinion or suggestion, you get upset by saying, how come you don't agree with me? How come you don't see what I see? You know why? Because we are different. We are different. We are different the way we look. We are different in the way our voice sounds. And we are different in what's in here. So you can expect that everyone will think exactly the same way. Yeah, in certain things, yeah, everybody agrees that today is Monday, right? And everybody agrees that we are in Miami. And everybody agrees that we are at the Safra Synagogue. This is common sense. But how many times you hear arguments between people? Next, he talks about Torah learning. And obviously the concept of Torah learning doesn't really need much introduction. But what is the hardest part of learning Torah? 2 points. The habit, the frequency, and then see if I am able to apply what I learn. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes no. But it says the more frequency and the more habitual training the person has in Torah learning, and maybe for men is more demanding than for ladies. Because ladies, they don't have the obligation, let's say, to learn Torah on every topic that men learn. Why not? Because ladies learn kashrut, Shabbat, tefillah, berachot, family purity, modesty, holidays, the matters which are relevant to a wife, to a lady. And the men learns matters which are relevant to the men. And then there is common ground. Musar, Pirkei Avot, Book of Tehillim, etc. And it says that the more habitual custom the person has in Torah learning, the feet of the person will feel it. Now, what does it mean, the feet of the person? How do you say in Hebrew, the feet, the leg of the person? Raglaim. You know what's the meaning? How do you say in Hebrew, habit? Regel. Ragil. לרגל. הרגל את עצמך. You walk, it's all connected. Next. Parents, sometimes they want the children to be the smartest of all. Not long ago, I met a couple that they have one son in Yale, another one in Harvard, another one in Columbia, and they all back home in Miami. No longer declared safe places for students. I understand that. So the great rabbi says, don't emphasize to your children that they are the smartest of all. Teach them to always be honest. Honesty, be a good person. The question is, how can a parent, and here's a good answer, how can a parent teach their children to be honest? By being honest themselves. You live with example. Imagine yourself, somebody calls to speak to you, and you tell your son, tell him or tell her that I'm not home. But that's basically what he's saying. Very down-to-earth lessons. Okay, one more. The world thinks that a wise person, if someone is someone who everyone goes to ask questions and seek advice. Could be. The Torah teaches us the opposite. Ezehu Hacham. Who is the wisest person from a Torah perspective? Who learns from everyone. Not so easy. Because many times people have difficulties in learning from another person. They say, I need to learn from him. He needs to learn from me. If you look for the lessons, you'll find them. Obviously, each one accordingly. Very powerful perspective. When someone is stubborn, in Hebrew this is called akshanut. Akshan. Akshan means stubborn. Like a balloon. Inflates, and then what happens? Explodes, bursts. Or you come with a minuscule needle, you make a tiny hole, the whole thing goes out. And it's not easy to deal with someone who has this type of personality. It's very challenging because you can't get two words in. My way or the highway. That's what akshanut means. Stubbornness means that. I'm right, you're wrong, you don't like it, leave, my way, the highway. Where all that comes from? Ga'ava. Haughtiness. The inflation of the ego of the person. So what are you supposed to do if you have someone close to you? What are you supposed to do? Don't tell me get divorced. Okay? Unfortunately, divorce exists. But it says here that a person should learn flexibility. Not easy. Not easy at all. To be flexible. To ignore. Sometimes the issue may not be so much constantly coming from the other side. But sometimes in our brain, we inflate. That's why yesterday, in one of the things that we mentioned in the class, is that in the Megillat Esther, a few times, the Pasuk talks about the mind. The mind here, not the heart, the mind. It says that these days, today and yesterday, are days that a person should pray to have clarity of their mind. Because often the mind of the person becomes the enemy of the person. No one else. Thank you. Thank you for your agreement. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero wrote this 500 years ago. He says the brain of the person plays more games than we can imagine, and he doesn't need much to manipulate how the person lives lives. It's never too late. And I'm not saying that it's easy to control our mind. But the Megillat Esther said it how many times? Who did he say it about? Haman. Hashav mahashavto hara'a. He thought his mind in a negative way. That was the beginning of his downfall. When he allowed, imagine Haman for a minute. An entire city bows down to Haman. One person does not bow down, uli one person did not bow down. 10,000 did bow down to you. Why are you concentrating on one? There are many reasons. But if you look at the face value of the Megillah, because Haman had a lot of ego, a lot of ga'ava, and that became his worst enemy. I'm not saying that people that are stubborn are Haman, God forbid, has v'shalom, no, just in case, God forbid, and I hope it didn't sound that way. But my purpose of bringing Haman into the picture was the mind. Now, we use in Hebrew a certain word, gadol. What's the meaning of the word gadol? Big. Ze kos gadol. This is a big cup. It's 16 or 12 ounces. Okay. But let's say that we speak about a person. And we say, Ze Adam Gadol. This is a great person. Now, what makes the person great? Besides Torah knowledge, okay? What else? So let me read you what it says. A true Gadol is someone who greets all types of people with patience and a smile. I read, a true Gadol, a great person, is someone who greets all types of people with patience, sablanut, and a smile. Besever panim yafot, with a smile. The opposite is Hilul Hashem. What's the meaning of Hilul Hashem? Desecration of God's names. Now, how can you desecrate God's name? It says there are many ways, by the way. I'll give you one related to today's message. Someone who mocks or belittles other people is considered foolish and arrogant. Why? Let me turn the page. No, I have the answer right here. One second. Okay. This chapter of the Rabbi Haim talks about having a happy face. Everybody has a face. The question is, face of Tisha B'Av or face of Purim? Tisha B'Av or Purim? Purim. That's the right answer. But there are people who live in Tisha B'Av mode all year long. They need help. The Mishnah writes in Pirkei Avot to greet everyone with a pleasant face. And the Rambam writes clearly, every person, young and old, a slave or a free person, every human being should be treated with happiness. In other words, greet them with happiness. But then he quotes a Masechet, Hibut HaKever. I'm not going to explain what this means, because this means a procedure after the person leaves the world. I don't have to dwell on that topic. But it says, שואלין לאדם בשעת הדין. They ask the person, when the person is greeted in Shamayim, what question do they ask the person? It's an open book question. They ask you, I believe, 6 questions. Question number 1, what is your name? True. That's why at the end of the Amidah, you say a verse that begins with the first letter of your first name and finishes with the last letter of your first name. I don't know ladies' verses. I know men's verses. Let's say your name, somebody's name is Shelomo. So you have a pasuk that starts with Shin and finishes with He. Shir Hashirim Asher Lishlomo. Your name is David. For example, Dirshu Hashem Be'uzo Bakeshu Panav Tamid. Dalet, Dalet. My name is Yosef. So my pasuk says, Hashem igmor ba'adi Hashem, hazecha le'olam ma'asi yadecha al teref. Ladies also have verses. You can look at it in Sidur Magen Avraham at the end. Al Kulana, that's Rivka. Excellent. Barechu et Hashem. That's your Sara. Beautiful. So I'm happy that ladies do know. Okay, give me a Magen Avraham Sidur after, and I'll find it for you. Okay, we'll find it after the class. Now, the Shalach Kadosh writes that when a person leaves the world, you may ask now, Rabbi, who is going to forget their name? You went on a date with your body, 80, 90 years, 100 years of life. And then you're going to forget your name? Yes. You know why? Because your name is not your body. Your name is your neshama. Is your neshama. The name of the person is the neshama. So once the neshama is separated from the body, Hazaku Baruch. That's question number 1. Question number 2. How honest were you in business? Honesty in business. Emunah. Another question, Torah learning. Another question, raising your children in the proper Torah way. Another question, did you hope for Mashiach to come in your days? And the 6th question is the one that is in front of us. Imlachta et havercha benachat ruach. In English it means, there's no English in this book, but I'm going to give you a verbatim. Did you treat your friend with kingdom? In other words, how did you treat your friends? Like shmate? I don't want to say the word in Arabic. Okay? Or you treated your friend respectfully. And that's why it says, Al yupanecha ze'umot. Don't have a long face, because it affects the other person. You look at someone that has a long face, it affects. Now, what level of person is he talking about? You may say your spouse, your mother-in-law, your relatives. Don't take it personal. Okay? God forbid. You know what it says? None of the above. Ovrim beshavim. The people that you greet on the street. Let me ask you a question. I walk from my house to the synagogue. I see a lot of people. Do you think that I know who they are? They know who I am, and I don't know who they are. That's usually the way it goes, at least in my life. But it says here, very interesting, that when you come across people on the street, your face can tell them, how do you feel today? You feel like Tisha B'Av, or you feel like Purim? Where do we learn this from? From Yosef HaSaddik. Remember, Yosef was in jail, and he sees the butler and the baker, and he says to them, why you have such a long face? And what did they answer? Because of the dreams that we had. Now, how did Yosef notice that something was going on? Says the face is a sample of your neshama. That's why the face of the person does not have bones. Your cheeks doesn't have bones. You have bones in your cheeks? They are not flexible. You have a skull. Single piece. Your cheeks flexible. Why? So you are able to smile. Because if this part of the face will have cartilage or some type of bony essence, you will never be able to smile. That's why this area doesn't have. Wrinkles is a different department. I don't deal with that. I'm not a good example on that. No bones, thank God. This was only the tip of the iceberg of the lessons based on the great Sefer of Rabbi Haim Kanievsky, or Hot Yosher. Now you may say, Rabbi, he was a malach. I agree. You think he was born a malach? No. You know how difficult life he had? Poverty, coming from Europe. It was an easy life. But, our mission in life is to emulate the great tzaddikim and tzaddikot from the Jewish people. That's it. Now, are we going to change immediately? Are we going to activate these 8 rules for life? If we activate 1 or 2, believe me, dayeno, we are very happy with that. You can do more? Do more. Be'ezat Hashem, what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to rearrange the order of the pages. So when you read, you don't happen what happened to me now. That I see the rabbi's face every other page, and I see pages which are repeated, but since I know myself and I know the order, so Be'ezat Hashem, I will fix it, and Beli Neder, I'll send it to you via the WhatsApp of this class. If somebody is not in the class chat and you like to be, which obviously nobody posts anything but me, only related to the class or community matters, I'll do it now before I send this later on today. Let it be the zechut of the great Rabbi Haim Kanievsky, Zecher Sadik Livracha, that he becomes a Melitz Yosher for all of us, and let it be that the miracle of Shushan Purim continues bringing miracles to all of Am Israel. Amen. Yes. Okay, so see me as soon as